Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. Welcome back to another episode of the Couch series. Thank you so much for all the love and comment and feedback that you've been giving me on my previous videos. So today I have Nyambura here with me. I'm going to let her introduce herself shortly. Today's topic, however, is going to be about sexual assault and sexual abuse. I think we've been having a lot of these conversations on social media recently, and I thought it was really important to bring a professional and someone who deals with this so we can talk about this in depth a bit more. So Nyambura, welcome.
Thank you. Glad to be here. My name is Rehema Nyambura Gadumbe. I'm a psychotherapist and currently doing my master's. So thank you. Thanks for having me.
All right, you're welcome. So Nyambura has her own farm, and in this farm she gives help to people who have been through sexual assault, sexual abuse, women and men alike. So before we started rolling, Nyambura was telling me how a lot of the sexual abuse that happens in the country, or I don't know if it's worldwide, but in the country, usually starts from home. So I want to know more about that.
Okay. Unfortunately, 95% of all sexual abuse happens in the home.
Okay.
So that means the perpetrator is a person known to the family of the victim.
Yeah.
Which I think is really unfortunate, and it happens when someone is growing up. 98% of all people who have been imprisoned have been imprisoned because of sexual abuse, and sexual abuse to a minor. Yeah, so that's how the statistics looks like, and I think it's really sad.
Like, I feel like anything above 90%, that's a bit crazy. That should not be happening. And you were also telling me about how when you're abused when you're young, then the chances of you being abused again when you're older, the chances are high.
Are quite high. Sexual abuse in totality is very complex. And the sad thing about sexual abuse, especially when it happens when one is a minor, it takes away their voice. So they are not able to talk.
Okay.
And then I want to call it toxic. Sexual abuse almost forms the norm of any sexual relations going forward. Because the person learns that sex is forceful, I have to work hard at sex, sex has to be, I have to be rewarded, quote unquote. So if someone is sexually abused when they were young, this is the language they form even when they grow up. And that's what I was saying, like 75% of people who have been sexually abused when they are young, most probably find themselves in an environment that unfortunately enables more sexual abuse, even when they're grown up.
Okay, so that's like crazy, because I don't think I've ever talked about this, but I was sexually abused when I was a child. When I was maybe 10, 11, I think class 8, but I was younger than most class 8 pupils. I think class 8 pupils are 13. Yeah, so I was 2 years younger, so I was 11. And it happened with a family member, someone who is actually very close to me. And then recently when because I have personal therapy, I was telling my therapist about an instance that happened maybe when I was 9. And she tells me, Sharon, you know, that's molestation. You were actually molested. And, you know, I never thought about it like that. The other second incident, I knew that one for sure was abuse. But it has really set the precedence for how my relationships have turned out now. Because I used to wonder, why don't my relationships work out? Like, you know, why do I allow certain bad, toxic habits and all of that? And then now that I'm going through therapy, now is when I'm figuring out that a lot of my experiences in childhood are what are making, you know, me have such a hard time with relationships and with love. But something monumental that happened to me when I was abused as a child was that I sought help, and I sought help with another close family member, a female, and she didn't believe me. So, and I think that is the case with so many young girls or young boys who are molested or abused. So what would you say to a parent, someone, when a child comes to you and tells you that uncle whoever or my father or whoever abused me?
I mean, first of all, I'm really sorry it happened.
Thank
it just grieves my heart, to be honest. I'm really sorry. I'm grateful that you're going through therapy. That's what makes the difference.
Yeah.
when there's intervention to a trauma, and the intervention can be therapy and other techniques. Now, you know, the sad thing is, unfortunately, the reason why sexual abuse perpetrators get away with it is because even when the child opens up to the primary caregiver, if it's the mom, the dad, or whoever, they tell the child, you're dreaming, you're exaggerating, you're this and that. And my plea to parents is, when a child comes up to you and they tell you I was sexually abused, please take that at heart. Be it your brother, be it even your sister, because now we have boys who are being sexually molested by their aunties. Just or house helps. Please just take it seriously, because when you don't believe the child when they tell you that they were sexually abused, what that does is to add salt into the injury. And so the child actually grows up with a very unhealthy self-esteem. They actually blame themselves for the sexual abuse that happens to them. So my plea to parents is, please take this very, very seriously. And the beauty is, if you go to a police station and say, my child was sexually abused, police today takes sexual child molestation / sexual abuse to children very, very seriously. The person will be arrested.
Okay, at least that's good to hear. Let's talk about sexual abuse now as in the context of an adult. So if I was to be, you know, raped, or, you know, God forbid, molested, or, you know, if I was to go through any sexual assault today, and it pains me that we have to talk about this, that this is our reality as women. But what do I do? Like, what steps should I take to, you know?
Okay, so after the ordeal, the safest thing to do is to go to a hospital. Have the doctors examine you. After they've examined you, they'll do a report, and then the nurses will take care of you, clean you up and all that stuff. Then you take that report and go to the police station. What we find most of us do, unfortunately, is first you go to the police station, then you go to the hospital.
I think I read somewhere about having, it should be about 72 hours before.
72 hours should not lapse after the sexual
the assault.
The reason why you need to go to the hospital first is because once you're sexually abused, you're in a very vulnerable state, very, very heightened. Unfortunately, there have been victims who have been sexually abused and they've gone to the police station initially and they've been blamed. It's how you were dressed, or exactly. And what that does is even minimize or make the person feel even smaller and smaller. And when you feel smaller, you actually introspect and you blame yourself for what has happened. So the person never seeks help. So we normally say, first go to a hospital, have the doctor examine you, they'll take care of you. Then once you're in a more relaxed state, now you can go to the police station. It's very invasive, unfortunately. But it's important. It's one of the things that I have seen some of the people who've gone through it, they say that they were glad they did it. They showed up for themselves, even when they were in a very delicate place. So don't shy away from doing it. You will thank yourself later. Once the doctor has written the report, then you can take it to the police station.
And also, when you do go to the doctor, they give you HIV medication, ARVs, that prevent you from, if you are exposed to HIV, it prevents that from happening. I think they also give you P2, just so that there's no unwanted pregnancy as well. And I think in most hospitals, they have a GBV center. So if you do need to speak to a therapist, there's usually someone in the hospital that you can speak to and process the situation. But I think one of the biggest thing that really annoys me is the victim blaming and the victim shaming, like you were saying. Because I do know people who have gone to the police to report, and a lot of the police, even female police, will make you feel like it was your fault for being, you know, abused or raped. So how would you say is the best way to handle someone who has been a victim of sexual assault?
So if the person has not reported, have not gone to the hospital, please accompany them. They need to, it's very, very important. Then accompany them also to file a report in the police station. But after that, and this is towards all forms of grief, because rape or sexual abuse has a sense of loss, because a sense of who you are has been taken away by either a known person or an unknown assailant. Just the process of grief, there are no right words.
Yes.
Most of us try to say, you know, it wasn't your fault. That's not the right thing to say at that particular time, because the person is actually thinking that it's their fault and they'll just get angry. Just be there. Do the humanitarian things. Clean for them, cook for them, watch a movie with them. The thing is, especially for sexual abuse, when you're a grown-up, the victim will possibly not be comfortable leaving the house for a specific number of days. So please don't try and get them out of the house. They feel safe at home. As they heal and as they go through the grieving process, it will come a time when they want to leave. Then you can accompany them. But at that particular time, go to them, be with them. And if the person has like a strong social support, you can come up with a rota and say Monday, for example, Mary will go, Tuesday, Cynthia will go, Wednesday, so that the victim sees someone every other time and they feel cared for. But please don't try and say it will be okay or this too shall pass. It's a little bit insensitive
so
at
much.
that particular time.
Because we were just talking about it with Dr. Vundi in one of our episodes, and we were saying how the most impact you make for someone who has been through trauma or grief or anything difficult in life is just your presence, just being there. Not necessarily anything you say. They won't remember things you told them unless they were negative. But they'll remember people who showed up for them, helped them cook, helped them clean, people who took them out on a drive. You know, those small things are what makes the difference when you're being there for someone. So first of all, don't force them to talk. And then secondly, those words that people like to say, those ones, everything will be okay.
Or it's God's will.
No, kwanza that one, just don't. Because I mean, yes, everything will be okay, but at that time, they don't think everything will be okay. They don't feel like everything will be okay. So you telling them that looks like you invalidating their horrible experience, and what they're feeling currently. So I really, really like that. Just offer your support. Or even try ask them, how would you like me to be there for you? How can I support you in this time? How can I be there for you? What do you need from me? How can I help you? That's better than telling them things or, you know, maybe doing things that they don't really matter to them. So I guess therapy is big when you're trying to deal with trauma. But like, what can I do as a person other than therapy to cope when I am going through a trauma, just so I can stay afloat, because I feel like it's such a difficult, heavy time, and it's so easy to, you know, get swallowed by, you know, the hardness of the situation.
So, especially if the person has not started therapy at that particular point, we normally ask if you can get a safe space and put boundaries around it. And the boundaries would be things that provoke your fear or things that remind you of the sexual abuse that happens. Because the worst thing is to reliving like the experience again. Number two is mindfulness or breathing exercises, which I think Dr. Vudi talked about the other time. And then the third thing is get a consistent structure to help you cope during the day. So if you're a victim, you can say, I will be sleeping at 9, I will be waking up at 8 o'clock or 7 or 6. When I wake up, I'm going to have my breakfast.
So routine.
After that, a routine really, really helps, because what the victim needs at that particular time is a sense of safety.
And stability.
And that's the reason why. Now, within that safe space, these are the things that the person can do. If you're spiritual, but I should mention that normally what happens when you go through a trauma, your beliefs on the spirituality are somehow shifted and they are shaken. And some people find it hard to actually pray or to read the Bible, for example. So for me, I'm a
Because
Christian.
you're angry at God
Yes.
for why me? Why would you allow for that to happen to me? Yeah.
There is freedom in you actually telling God that you're angry at him. He doesn't expect you to be prim and proper. He knows what has happened. So scream at God if you want to, cry to him if you want to. Don't try and have it put all together. That's the safe space that we're talking about. Just verbalize anything that you want.
Just feel the feelings.
Yes, feel the feelings.
Feel the difficult feelings. Feel the emotions. Don't suppress. Like cry if you want to cry every day. Be angry at God if that's what if that's what you're feeling in the moment, then that's what you're feeling at the moment. And I really like that, because I think a lot of us, because of how we were raised in spirituality, we look at God like this scary being in the sky who we can never be angry at, you know, or he'll send you to hell or something like that. And I don't think that's what God intends, how God intends for us to relate with him. So it's okay to be angry at God. It's okay to ask him questions. It's okay to feel like you didn't protect me. You weren't there for me. You didn't stop this from happening. And it's even, I think, worse for anyone to tell you that this was God's will for you. Because that, I
mean, I shudder to think about that, to be honest.
Because it's horrible. I don't think God wants anything bad to happen to any of his children.
There's something I want us to try, because one of my main objectives is if someone can even acquire a skill as through these talks, that would be awesome. So there's something that I'm sure you know, it's called self-emotion regulation. So for example, like something happened to me almost like 4 or 5 days ago. And so what I do every time I feel sad is I actually stop what I'm doing, sit down and say, I am sitting with sadness. And so you sit down and you say, okay, I feel sad. And then, so the first thing to do is to verbalize what you're feeling. So for example, I feel sad. I have been feeling sad. Then I say, the sadness is at the pit of my stomach, like just at the tip of your heart. So you name where you're feeling the feeling, and then
what feeling you're feeling,
and then objectify the feeling. So for me, it's been like a gray stone, because it's quite heavy. So maybe for someone would be like it's a brown wood, or someone would say it's a white rock or something, and then just sit with it and turn it. Say, okay, so this sadness, I'm turning it round and I'm turning it round. And what happens is, believe it or not, within a minute or so, the sadness is gone.
Really? I need to try that.
Just try it.
I should,
Because the way God created us is that our feelings are to be felt.
Yes.
Most of us are afraid.
There's no shame in feelings.
There's no shame in feelings whatsoever. So when you sit with your feeling, it stops being that ambiguous fear, and you find that after some time, you control it. So once you feel that the sadness has become a small gray stone, just say, I'm throwing it away. And then you go up. So I am a Christian, so I'd pray about it after that. And then now you go about your day. And then you realize every day your sadness is less and less, and it's not controlling you. You're aware there's a sadness, but it doesn't take over it doesn't take over your life.
Over you,
So that's called emotion regulation.
That's nice. I think I've actually, the naming, giving your feeling a name, I think that's what has been most impactful for me, because before therapy, I didn't really think much into whatever feelings I was feeling. And now my therapist is able to give names to my pain, or give names to my feelings. And I think that has really, made such a big impact with how I process those feelings, because now they have a name. Now I know that I was feeling rage, or I was feeling anger, or I was feeling, disappointed, or all these things, and it helps me in the processing. So lastly, as we close, I want to know, because I think, as much as, yes, we can talk about helping the victims, and how do we give them support, how do you give yourself support, what about the perpetrators? Because the perpetrators of victim shaming, because I think we had, we saw everything that happened with with Shafi Wero and DJ Joe. And I think a majority of men and even some women feel like, you know, it's okay to say such things. And even in our households, we see it with how our mothers or grandmothers or aunties tell us, you know, you can't wear that in front of your father, your uncle, whatever. And it's always somehow our fault for being abused. You know, it's always, you know, and I think that really, like, it's mind-blowing to me, because I'm like, why wasn't he taught as a child that when you see a minor in shorts, that it's just a minor in shorts, and she's not asking to be raped or abused, or you know, and then, you know, just the blaming for what were you wearing, yet there are Muslim women who are fully covered still raped, or you know, unfortunately, and were you drinking, and yet there were sober women who are, you know, raped, unfortunately. So what do we do about the victim blaming? What do we do about the cultural, because I think it's a cultural norm of the patriarchal system, thinking that they have control over women and their bodies.
So it's so interesting. We had the same conversation, and my son was calling us out, and he was saying, you guys, you just concentrate on concentrate on telling the girls what to do. You never educate the boys. And I was like, my gosh, that makes sense. First of all, it's not justifiable for anyone to victim shame anybody, despite whether they were drinking or not. They were there to do what they needed to do, so it's not their fault that they were sexually abused. So that will have to do a lot of policy formulation. And I think you and I guess the majority of us in this culture, it's upon us to do what we call a culture change. As you educate the girl on how to behave, you also need to educate the boy on the standard. From the ground up. From the ground up. And I think possibly our churches can also play such a big role in terms of, well.
You know, the difficult thing with that is a lot of people use religion as an excuse to abuse women. And this really is so close and dear to me, because the person that abused me calls himself a man of God. And it's I don't think religion or the church has made it a safe place for women in general. So I think even the culture shift that needs to happen even in those systems of the church. And the, you know, I can't speak for Muslims because I'm not Muslims, but maybe them as well, I'm not sure.
If all of us stood up and reported these family members, and we protected the victims, and we genuinely cared for the people who are trying to heal, even as young as children, I think maybe the abuse would be on a decline. I think so.
What about the perpetrators who abuse the older, not just children? Because I think the rot is so deep, to the point where even makangas, random men on the street, feel entitled to your body as a woman. I've had a makanga grab my boob. I've had a man in the matatu, like, you know, he was like literally like caressing my breast, and you know, I found it so hard to like tell him to stop. I was, I think, maybe 16, but now try me now, we'll fight. But like, you know, so I feel like the rot is so deep. How do we, you know, I think, yes, psychoeducation is a big part of it, but then I don't know if there's any other way to like make the numbers be less.
Lower. The play would be normally, which I think may have an impact, is for the man doing that to another person's daughter. How would you feel if your daughter, the same happened to your daughter? I guess that would stop him straight in the tracks and think, okay, I wouldn't want that to happen to my daughter.
And I agree, and I feel like this conversation just really upsets me.
Me too.
Because yes, fine, totally agree that, what if it was your daughter, sister, mother, whoever. But how about we just treat women with respect because they're human beings just like you are a human being? I think that's my biggest challenge because men only respect, in most instances, men only respect other men or they only respect you because they see their mother in you, their daughter, their sister, their whoever. So I think it's just, if there's nothing we can do about the older generation, then we as this new generation and our children to come, it's how we raise our children, how we raise our boys, how we raise our girls, how we speak to our husbands, our partners, our brothers, just so that this cycle is cut off, is broken. Because those are the older generation, they've carried on these things from their parents and their parents, and it's our job now to stop it, to stop the cycle, to put an end to the cycle.
Certainly. Yeah, I wouldn't agree. I mean, I don't even think I have anything more to add. It's about respect. It's about upholding the other person to be more important than you perceive them to be.
Okay. That was deep, that was heavy. But thank you so much, Nyambura. I think
for having me.
This was really great. This was really informative. I've learned things that I didn't know. And, you know, I think if you're going through sexual assault, sexual abuse, if you've been through it, I feel you, I feel your pain, and I'm sorry, and it wasn't your fault. It wasn't your fault that you went through it, and I hope, in my deepest part of my heart, I hope that you get better. I hope you feel better, and I hope, you know, you get through the trauma of the entire experience. So thank you guys so much for watching. Thank you, Nyambura, for your insights, for your wisdom, for your knowledge. This was amazing, and I'll see you guys in my next video. Please don't forget to subscribe, like, share, all that good stuff, and we'll be back soon with another episode of the Couch series. Bye.
Bye.